Hi friends, David Tensen here. Really happy to be with you again. I'm going to be sharing some more today on the topic of highly sensitive people. Some of these thoughts are coming from a book and several books like it, but this book called The Highly Sensitive Person by Elaine Aron. There are a whole stack of books now. That was written in 1999, but there are a whole lot of books on the topic of highly sensitive people. And I'm doing this off the back of some posts and videos and a huge amount of response and requests of, hey David, can you please put something together? We'd love to know more about this topic and subject. Is it like this? Is it like that? Tell me about kids. What's it like for men? All sorts of stuff. So today, just by way of introduction, I want to sort of clarify and give a little bit of definition onto about what a highly sensitive person is and how they differ from others, and so on. Now, there is, just as a disclaimer, there is so much information out there now. That book written in 1999 has sparked off a whole stack of other books and research into it. Understand that a highly sensitive people, this is a genetic disposition. This is something that affects the nervous system, which then affects everything about us. And so I'm not claiming to be any kind of expert, but as some of you know, the area that we work in is in healing and mentoring and coaching and maturity and emotional health and walking and being authentic in your Christ journey and a whole stack of stuff. So if this is a blessing to you and you have questions following this, please, or comments, please put them down below. I'm also going to shoot some other videos on highly sensitive boys and raising children that are highly sensitive as well, and hopefully get you underway in some of your own journey. Now, I have with me an elastic band, and this is what I want to use to show you very briefly on sort of what it's like to be a highly sensitive person. And we're going to use this and only this one item, because I want us to understand from the very beginning that somebody who's a highly sensitive person is no different by way of humanity, etc., than those who are not highly sensitive. And I'm hoping this just brings some basic clarity and understanding to this disposition, which is can tend to be both a blessing and a curse. It's something that you manage and you live with, but because it's you only know you only know the world. Excuse me. You only know the world from your lens. You know, I only know what the world looks like from my glasses. I only know what the water in my fishbowl tastes like. So for me, discovering this has been validating. I've had so many aha moments. Oh, that explains it. Oh, wow, I can see that in my kids, etc., etc. So I'm sharing from that perspective. Now, if we to understand high sensitivity, some people have already said, oh, I don't think you're a sensitive person. You don't seem to be offended easily. In fact, you're probably a lot more gracious and peaceful than others I may know. And part of that is true. Part of that is self-management. Part of that is a facade. Part of that is, well, I don't know how to fight anyway, because highly sensitive people tend to lean towards wanting to be peacekeepers and healers anyway. But sensitivity, by way of definition, is a person's ability and capacity to respond to stimuli. Okay, and that can be through the five senses. That can be emotionally. That could be spiritually, I believe. So a person's capacity. Everybody is sensitive. Okay, it's not that, you know, these are the people that are crying in the corner when they get teased. That's not necessarily the thing about sensitivity. Think of sensitivity as far as touch and sight and smell and sound and feeling. etc. like that. So it's something, and the books talk about this, the research is developed around this, that it's not just some observation with 20% of the population, it's actually something that is a genetic disposition, that your nervous system is more sensitive to particular things. Again, this is broad. I encourage you to go research the subject yourself. Some people are sensitive to sound, some people are sensitive to touch and sight and all sorts of stuff, and it really is quite a broad subject, but I hope this clarifies some of that for you as well. Using this elastic band, if you want to imagine that, and I'm stretching this almost to capacity here, this fully stretched elastic band would represent your sensitivity, okay? So if it's fully stretched here, this is what it would be like, roughly, for most of the non-highly sensitive people. There you have your sensitivity, you have your bandwidth, okay? This is your bandwidth, and your bandwidth is quite wide, and so you can go to a shopping center, you can go to a performance review at work, you can go to a hotel room and sleep the night. You know, you can do daily activities, you can go to a busy place, you can do all sorts of stuff, and your sensitivity to the arousal and stimulation of that environment, okay, also the arousal and stimulation of everything that is going on a subconscious and non-conscious level, things that are running around in your mind, things that are running around through your emotions, things you're feeling and sensing, your bandwidth is really quite wide. Okay, and so you think along those lines, you respond along those lines, you respond to the stimuli and the arousal, both being aroused and feeling aroused is quite wide. Okay, now for the highly sensitive person, okay, that same elastic band and that same bandwidth is sort of reduced. Now some are reduced really small. Some are a little bit like this. And by the way, if you didn't catch the last video, I recommended you check out the sort of the self-evaluation test on the hsperson.com website. That's the website by that Elaine Aron with one A, has put together, and there's a test there. You can do tests on high sensitivity. You can do tests on self-evaluation. They're not hard. They're like 28 questions or something about children as well. So this may help you explain. This may explain some of that to you. So back to the highly sensitive person. Sensitive, normal, 80% of the population roughly. Okay, and this is the highly sensitive person. It's quite reduced, depending on a whole stack of things, from especially in areas of if you're a highly sensitive person and you've grown up in a very chaotic, traumatic, dysfunctional, loud, out of control environment where there wasn't a lot of peace and calm, which you need more than the average, then you will probably be quite, it could be quite narrow, and you might find yourself losing it and snapping quite a lot. So for the normal person, everyone has their limits. Please understand. I shouldn't say normal, but for the non-HSP, it's for that 80% of the population, everyone has their breaking point. When you're overwhelmed and too much is on, too much stimuli, everyone has their breaking point, but it's less for the highly sensitive person. However, within this is this beautifully heightened sensitivity within this bandwidth here when they're not overwhelmed. And what happens is everyone else is going, yeah, and the highly sensitive people are like, oh, I want to get as wide as that, but I can't, it's just too overwhelming. And here is one of the traits of highly sensitive people, is that they tend to get overwhelmed quicker. And what people do with their overwhelming state it can be different. They can disconnect, they can be angry, just a whole stack of stuff. Somehow they need to be able to cope, and they feel stretched and overdone, and they're very aware that the tension here is too much, and they tend to break. And so for the highly sensitive people out there, what we need to do is manage this zone, because when we're in the zone, it's beautiful. The world needs us in this zone. Your partners need you in this zone. Parents, you need to modify the lives of your highly sensitive kids so that they can live in this zone, because they're at their best in this zone here. The sensitivity is heightened in a whole lot of ways, but quite often we find them stretched and overwhelmed, or just give up altogether and completely. So there is an adjustment. And Elaine Aron, when I heard her talk about this, I thought, wow, you just need to adjust your life. You need to just come to grips that this is the way you are, and you come to love it, come to find out beautiful things about that, but understand that you may not have that capacity or be able to run as fast and as long as other people do. But when you're in your best zone, you're going to enjoy that run. You're going to enjoy the journey, because the colors are brighter, and a whole lot of stuff. So let me just finish on just some encouragement here concerning highly sensitive people, and things about this trait that make you special. When you're in your good place, when you're in your zone, when you've managed well, when the arousal is not either too much or too little. I mean, this is the thing. This is when arousal's too much. Everyone can be over or under aroused and break. You get bored or overwhelmed again, but it's smaller for highly sensitive people. Let me just read you a couple things here. She says that when you're in your good sort of zone, you're better at spotting errors and avoiding mistakes. Highly sensitive people are often more highly conscientious. They're able to concentrate deeply, and this is often best done without distraction. I hated exams. I hated tests. I hated performance reviews. I don't like sort of being looked over my shoulder when I'm doing something. Now, those of you who know me, I speak in front of thousands of people, every year. And highly sensitive people aren't always introverts, right? 30% of highly sensitive people are extroverts, and you just grow capacity. But if I've done a weekend of preaching or ministering, I'm stuffed. I'm just so tired, because I've been consciously, spiritually, unconsciously gauging the room, getting a feel for things. The whole thing, you constantly, there's a higher state of arousal. There's a higher state of sensitivity there. But you can concentrate deeply. Especially good at tasks requiring vigilance, accuracy, speed, and the detection of minor differences. They're able to process material to deeper levels of what psychologists called somatic memory. And to me, it's sort of no surprise when I came across the teachings that John and Paula Sanford put out on burden bearing and everything in inner healing and things in that area. I was like, wow, I found my tribe. I found something that works for me. Highly sensitive people often think about their own thinking. There's a high self-awareness, again, when they're in their good zone. When they're not, it's gone. Highly sensitive people are able to learn without being aware that they have learned. You just pick stuff up, okay? And people go, how do you know that? And you quite honestly say, well, I'm not sure, but you learn without knowing you've learned, because that sensitivity and alertness and arousal is brighter and sharper when you're in your good zone. And you are deeply affected by other people's moods and emotions. And I had quite a few people ask me in the feeds, in the comments, is this the same as spiritual sensitivity? Is this the same as burden bearing? Does this mean I'm prophetic? And I'm not going to answer that question for you, partly because I don't have a lot of clarity around that. And I'm hoping to interview or get a hold of some people that can bring some clarity about that. I will say, however, and you will see this in some of your own research, highly sensitive people tend to be more spiritual because they are concerned about life. They think deeper. They have a heightened aware of things in the spirit realm. This is just part of your trait, because I want you to think about this for those of you who may ask that question. When you discern something in the room, something you might feel is good or evil, or some kind of vibe or demonic or angelic or whatever that is, you actually feel that, okay? You actually sense that. When people talk about, I really felt the presence of the Lord, something has intrinsically moved in and affected your nervous system, bringing you to a conscious state of, wow, God is in this place. So, oh my gosh, this place is demonic and I need to go. And so if you are one of these people who's out here, you'll pick it up a bit. But these people, because it's more finely tuned, if they're in a good state, it will feel better or worse or sharper or duller. There'll be something in this for highly sensitive people that they're going to pick these things up, these nuances, perhaps earlier or in a greater capacity. So that's me partly answering the question without answering it. So we've gone for 16 minutes now, but I hope that has been of some help to you. I'm going to shoot some just sharing about children and boys, particularly raising highly sensitive kids as well. And so if this has been a help to you, please comment below, share your thoughts, encourage others. Let me know if this is helpful in speaking to you. Like and share this if you can. Please do check out our resources at davidtensen.com. We've got a whole stack of soaking prayers with lovely, gentle piano music and things in the background that will help you and other highly sensitive people around you sleep and rest better and feel better in yourself. They're a great mode of relaxation and centering in and understanding how fearfully and wonderfully we're made in God's eyes. So that's at davidtensen.com. Bless you heaps. You have a wonderful day. I'll speak to you soon.